not too warm, and we're still feeling that drier air. Our dew points are in the lower 40s, which again for Houston, that's pretty dry air that's lingering around. And our winds are going to be a little variable today, but they're going to be pretty light. Maybe 5-mile-an-hour winds is kind of what we're looking at. Eventually, they're going to kind of get worked around to the northwest. We'll be working our way that direction at least, but pretty light overall is kind of what we're looking. And our temperatures from yesterday, the highs, we were avoiding the 70s. We were in the 60s. It was a bit of a cool day. We will be warmer today overall. This is this morning's low, so the majority of us in the 40s. And it varied a little bit. We were 43 up in Huntsville, 47 at Hobby Airport. Angleton, a little bit of a cool spot at 42 this morning. And Galveston Island, 53 degrees, very moderate there on the water. This is the current temperatures, which is pretty close to those highs that we saw yesterday. But with that sunshine, those light winds, we will see these rebound up right around that 70-degree mark. So if you want to compare the same time yesterday, we're certainly warmer than we were yesterday. We had those clouds that were kind of still lingering around just a little bit for us. We've got 4 degrees warmer right now in Huntsville. Intercontinental Airport about 6 degrees warmer. The folks in Pearland also about the same. And here's those light winds I was talking about. You can see the arrows are kind of moving around a little bit because it's just not a lot of wind out there, and it's really calm more than anything. Just a little bit of a breeze that's kind of moving in, a very light wind overall. And again, that's going to be the pattern for today. Focusing on temperatures for just a minute, I talked about how comfortable it's going to be today. I think as we move towards the end of the week, though, with the increase of humidity, that will begin to feel a bit warmer. And yes, the thermometers will certainly read warmer, but 74, 70, it's not that much of a big difference. But we're adding in more humidity, you're going to notice that. And then we'll get some cooler air back in towards the end of the week after we have a couple systems that are kind of moving on through in a front that follows in with that. So let's talk about rain for just a minute. I'm going to jump ahead to Thursday night, and as we move into Friday primarily, you'll notice a real light blue shading here representing the possibility of some of that rainfall. So I'm showing you the accumulation of rainfall. In other words, if we just put a bunch of buckets out there and we're catching the rain as it falls, how much is that going to add up to? It's so very, very light here as we get through Friday into very early Saturday, but then you'll notice the rain starting to collect quite a bit more. And overall, we're still looking at that inch or less for most of us, but you'll notice we are expecting maybe a little bit of a pocket or two that bounces up in that 1 to 2 inch range. So we'll kind of see how this all plays out. I wouldn't really set too focus on the location here. This pocket could, shift around a little here in our next several days as we get closer to that rain. This long range model giving us an idea of what is going to be happening. So again, beautiful today. Another very great, pleasant day tomorrow. Be outside as much as you can on both of these days. And then we're looking for some rain coming in later in the week. And we've been talking about the West Coast and that atmospheric river. And it has shifted just a little bit. The river itself is weakened somewhat, if you will. It's not quite as intense. And our yellow arrows here kind of representing the center of that channel. And notice that it is now focused a little bit further down to the south, really more into Mexico than it is focused into California at the moment. So when we get a closer look and we kind of zoom into this and we watch that rainfall, it's not nearly as defined as it was yesterday. Yesterday, there was just, you could see that on the radar, just that rain after rain after rain. But here you see a little bit of the heavier pockets. See the yellows and the reds here that's further, coming out of Mexico. And remember, our radar network isn't as all-inclusive once we get out over water, of course, and even over the Baja Peninsula there of Mexico. We'll see that this continues to move up towards Phoenix, but certainly a lot of rain still happening for Southern California, but it doesn't quite have that organization and that consistency and that flow of just always raining. This is more some embedded thunderstorms that are kind of getting moved around, but certainly some heavy downpours, certainly looking for some flood warnings right now. Some strong winds are still there. These pink shaded areas, those are actually some wind storm warnings that have been issued because of the higher winds. As far as the flooding goes, we were at this extreme level yesterday, and we've backed off all the way to the likely level now. A lot of that having to do with water that's already on the ground or the saturated ground, and then more rain that's coming. So this is a better situation than yesterday as far as expected rainfall, but because of all of the water that's fallen and the damage that's already happened, it's still a pretty serious situation for sure over in California. We have high pressure building in across the state of Texas. It's not going to keep away all these upper level clouds, but the rain, it is going to help kind of bounce that off of us, keep it around. Temperatures are going to correspond very comfortably. Right now we've got 54 degrees in Dallas, 62 in Del Rio, and we've got 64 degrees in Corpus Christi. We're also in the lower 60s. A little bit of shift in the tree pollen that's out there. We've been talking about the cedar levels have been high, and they are still high, but the elm have sort of jumped up as well. So if you're trying to figure out which particular tree pollen particulate that's really giving you the problems, well, we've had a bounce up in elm over the last couple of days. Now let's look for our rain that we're expecting again for the weekend. Here's that Thursday rain that could be happening. This is sort of more or less representing what our radar would look for, not necessarily accumulation like we were looking at earlier. Again, showers expected across the area on Friday afternoon, and then we get into Saturday afternoon. Notice the intensity builds in a little bit, a few more storms. Still at this point, not discussing for sure that we would see a severe storm, but heavier downpours and some thunder and lightning would be more likely on Saturday as opposed to Thursday and Friday. Here's the look at today. Those light winds, clouds building back in a little bit overnight. We're still going to be chilly with upper 40s for those lows, and then we'll see some more clouds mixed in for tomorrow. And later in the day, you'll certainly notice the return of the southeast winds. That's that wind off the Gulf of Mexico. That means warmer. That means more humid, especially look what happens in the overnight hours. So for tomorrow, we are back in the 40s for Wednesday morning, but Thursday morning, we're bouncing up probably 10 or 12 degrees warmer because mostly those winds that are going to be out there in the shifting to the Gulf. So here are those rain chances, very high that you're going to see some rain on Saturday, still going to linger over into Sunday. Cooler air working its way in, but not really blasting its way in and clearing things out. So we're certainly looking for some rain. I know we've got Mardi Gras festivities again down in Galveston, other outdoor activities. I believe this is the Saturday that one of our MLK parades were rescheduled for. Not the best forecast at this point. We'll see how all that kind of unfolds. So plan accordingly as you're moving towards the weekend. And speaking of planning, I'm glad you're watching right now. However you're watching me, or you're using Fox Local on your smart TV, maybe you've got your device and you're just watching on the Fox 26 weather app or the Fox 26 news app. I can get to you in lots of different ways, but no matter what, be back here in about 20 minutes. DeLon Dillard and myself will be here for Fox 26 News at noon. We'll see you then.